And here's the big news that we are tracking. Indian troops thwart attempts by the Chinese army to disrupt status quo. Indian troops foil Chinese army's attempt to disrupt peace. Sources add that Indian troops push back the Chinese forces. Vigilant Indian troops take on the Chinese troops, and sources say several Chinese soldiers currently sustain injuries, some from the Indian side as well. Very few injuries on the Indian side though. Sources also informing that situation at the point of clash currently tense but stable. Clashes took place at Naku in Sikkim. We're looking at after 16 hours of Corps Commander level talks that took place last night. Here, the Chinese troops trying to intrude, but alert Indian soldiers have pushed back, and at least 20 odd or more Chinese soldiers have been injured. Here we're looking at some shots coming in of the clashes as well, where Chinese and Indian troops have gotten into a brawl. Several of the Chinese soldiers have been injured. We believe that some of the Indian side, some soldiers from the Indian troops also have been injured, but very few injuries sustained on the Indian side. At least 20 Chinese soldiers have been injured so far. The clashes that we see here on your screens is what we get from the Sikkim border area, Nakula Sikkim border area. In fact, Shiv Arur joining us for more details on that. Let me cut across to Shiv. Shiv, we're looking at visuals here. Quite some tense moments between the Chinese and the Indian troops. This despite 16 hours long talk, Corps Commander level talks that took place last night. We're looking at the Chinese soldiers trying to intrude and alert Indian forces pushing back and pushing hard.
Nabila, thanks very much. The images on our screen are, of course, from a violent brawl that took place in that particular area, Nakula, in northern Sikkim last year. But we are told that the clash that has taken place 3 days ago in North Sikkim was a much more violent clash in which some serious injuries have been sustained on the Chinese side. At least 20 to 30 Chinese soldiers have been thrashed pretty badly. You know, we're talking about broken bones and things like that. It was a hand-to-hand brawl that took place after a Chinese provocation by a foot patrol where they crossed, across the international border onto the Indian side in Nakula, attempting to change facts on the ground. They were challenged by the Indian troops, and then reinforcements were called in, and then this brawl ensued. So this was a violent clash after quite a few months. There has been a tense calm that has prevailed all along the India-China frontier. The last time that anything violent happened were bullets being fired in Ladakh, but in Sikkim there have been frequent skirmishes of this kind since early last year. In fact, the video on our screen right now is of a violent clash that took place in the very same place where soldiers clashed just 3 days ago, which is Nakula in North Sikkim. We understand that things are calm right now, but they continue to be tense. The talks that took place yesterday, this is to make it very clear to our viewers that the talks that took place yesterday was in Ladakh, and those talks are very specific to what's happening in Ladakh. They have nothing to do with what's happening in Sikkim. In fact, in the Ladakh talks, the commanders do not even mention Sikkim or Arunachal Pradesh or anything of that kind. Their focus is only on Ladakh. Mercifully, in Ladakh, things have been much calmer for the last 4 months since September, even though, as India Today has reported, China has continued to violate its pact with India not to send more troops to the border. They've been doing that in a very, very steady manner. But the news break that we're bringing to you here on India Today by India Today's Rahul Srivastav is that this clash has taken place, and I can confirm to you from my sources that it has taken place in Nakula in Sikkim. As you can imagine, given the prevailing tensions between both sides, things are already extremely tense. Things are on a hair trigger in Sikkim. There are a large number of forces on both sides. This particular clash that took place 3 days ago in Nakula comes on the back of a series of provocations by the Chinese, including a training exercise that has taken place very close to the border, as well as the construction of new permanent defenses, in the Sikkim sector. So China this is not a coincidence. This is not spontaneous. These are provocations that are designed by China. We've seen provocations in Arunachal Pradesh recently. Now you're seeing what's happening in Sikkim. The Ladakh situation continues to simmer. So there is a pattern to what China is doing. Now, if you zoom out just a little bit, you get to see what that bigger picture is. If you zoom in, you will see that these provocations are happening at the troop level, very much like this one that happened in Nakula. I want to go across to India Today's Rahul Srivastav, who broke this story here on India Today. Rahul, major clash. We are hearing that, according to your sources, that there were some pretty severe injuries. I'm told from my sources as well that this was a Chinese troop patrol that attempted to cross the border like they've done quite a few times in the past in this particular sector, and there was a very violent reaction and they were chased back. Injuries sustained on both sides, but as we understand it, many more injuries on the Chinese side.
Yes, Shiv, it's your confirmation that it happened at Nakula. Sources are very tight-lipped about the region and the sector where it really happened. What sources are saying is that it was a very ferocious attempt by the Chinese and the ever-vigilant Indian troops. First, they challenged them, tried to reason it out, and as is the usual tactics of the Chinese in such attempts, which are well designed and well crafted, as you said, they are looking for points of clash and conflict. And then when they were not listening to the Indian cajoling, it is then that they indulged in a brawl and the Indians retaliated appropriately and suitably. While sources are confirming that right now there was no use of weapons, but the Indian side reply has inflicted injuries to 20 soldiers on the Chinese side. And after that brawl, both the sides, it seemed moved back a bit, and the situation in that sector is still said to be tense but stable.
Continues to be tense but stable, this is again proof, Rahul, of how difficult things can actually be on the ground. We already have this prevailing situation in Ladakh where we've got commanders who've been talking for the 9th time yesterday, and now the context is so clear. Hindsight is always 20/20. Now we can tell that the commander level talks that are happening in Ladakh happened perhaps just 48 hours after this extremely violent clash that happened far away in Sikkim.
Yes, Shiv, this is what the Indian side has been maintaining, that if the Chinese have been pretending to moving back troops in certain sectors, 10,000 now have been said to be moved in Sikkim and other areas, but the Indian side was never impressed. It has been maintaining that this is cosmetic. What the Indian side, that this by no means any kind of de-escalation by the Chinese, because the troops and the hardware which China has moved at the LAC and other areas continues to be exactly the same, which was, say, in May or in the later period last year. And that is why at the commanders' level talks, India has, with very strong words, defined what exactly de-escalation means. Because India says, till that the movement at the front line changes, nothing can be called a de-escalation.
Stay with me, Rahul. We also spoke to Colonel V.N. Thapar, a very well-known military analyst and veteran, just a short while ago on this big news break by India Today's Rahul Srivastav. Take a look at what Colonel Thapar told us.
I'm not at all surprised, because I believe that whatever the Chinese are doing, it is as per a design. I never believe that they do it impromptu or on the occasion. It is by design. And let us believe that all is quiet on the Ladakh front, uncomfortably quiet on the Ladakh front, and they have activated on the other side. So there is a design to all what is going on. I am very happy that the Indian Army has resisted any provocation by the Chinese, just like in 67. Shiv, I was there myself in Nathula in 65, then 67, and now you have this problem again. So unless we give them, like we gave them in 67 back, they will not have any caution imposed on them. The army is there. We are quite capable of handling them, and we shall handle them properly. But we have to be, if we value our own territory and our own integrity, we have to take them on sooner than later. And this thing about not a bullet being fired, someday or the other the bullets are going to be fired. So we should be ready for that. I am very happy that the army has taken the bold stand that has that will put good caution on the Chinese PLA.
Now, I want my viewers to look very carefully at the video that you have on your screen right now that we're playing for you. There's a reason why I'm playing this video for you. Let's put the video right now on our screen of the clash that took place in Nakula last year. That gives you a sense of the terrain where this particular clash took place. Now, the video you're seeing on your screen happened in 2020, where troops from the Chinese side had similarly clashed with the Indian side. But I just want to tell our viewers that the clash that took place 3 days ago was infinitely more violent than what you're seeing on your screen right now. But the one that happened 3 days ago, we don't know yet if there is any video footage of that. Perhaps there will be, and if there is, of course you'll see it on India Today first. But I just want to tell you that what you're seeing on the screen right now is small potatoes compared to what happened 3 days ago. 3 days ago, troops very much like the ones you're seeing on your screen, brawled in a hugely violent way. We're talking about broken jaws, broken bones, a lot of blood on the snow. There were serious injuries that were sustained in this brawl. Many more, we understand, on the Chinese side because, they were the initiators, but the Indian side had defended well. It had backup forces, and the Chinese patrol, which tried to mount this provocation, was thrashed, bashed, and sent back across the border with a warning. But these are things that continue to happen. Remember, thankfully, there is no information of any weapons being fired, because once that happens, we all know what can happen once weapons enter the equation in such a brawl. But no weapons were fired, no weapons were used in this attack. It was all, almost medieval style hand-to-hand combat between the two sides. Thankfully, no casualties, but the Chinese have definitely been sent out a very, very stern message that no such even low-level, small-time provocations of this kind are going to be tolerated. This may not be Ladakh. This is Sikkim, which is an international border. It is not a border that is disputed, and therefore there is no question of tolerating any Chinese provocation in this particular area. Rahul, what are you hearing from within the system at this point of time? The India-China standoff in Ladakh has been simmering for over 8 months now. We were talking about the deep winter. That's going to continue. It's going to yield into a very hot summer, it looks like, between Indian and Chinese forces. But the one thing that this news break by you confirms and validates, Rahul, is that this is an issue that is far beyond just Ladakh. This goes all across the India-China frontier.
Yes, sure, exactly. Right since the Galwan incident, till the time when the winter set in, if there was a sense of unease in the Indian defense establishment, it was primarily because of these assessments by the Indian defense establishment that the Chinese are not going to relent at all as far as fomenting trouble is concerned. They might have kept quiet on the Ladakh front, but as they have done it now, they have opened another front. In Arunachal area, we have recently had the news break that they have been building villages which are well into the Indian territory. And it is not just one spot in Arunachal, but there are actually 3 to 4 where they have already done it. Means that the McMahon line has been violated. Now this is a border. As you have stated, this is a border area. This is not imaginary LAC which is running somewhere. Now, that is what the defense establishment over the last 6 months has been telling me in conversations, that not one day the vigil can be lowered, primarily because the assessment was that the Chinese will continue attempting to threaten the status quo along the LAC border or the stated lines with India. And that is why at the front line, there has been not even a little bit of dilution as far as the Indian defense forces and the Indian defense strategists are concerned, because they knew that the Chinese will attempt it. And not only Shiv, in terms of military, the kind of pressure the government has been from the opposition, any transgression into Indian territory, if highlighted, would have been politically suicidal for the government, given the kind of strong national security posturing and stand taken by the government. And that is why the kind of effort which has been mounted by the defense ministry, led by Rajnath Singh, can be said that it has come through to the assessment that the Chinese are out for continuous varied form of friction as far as the border, LAC and other areas are concerned.